All right, everybody, here we are. We are live, live, live. That's right. The closing table is back for I can't believe we're going to say this, but it's the month of October. This is the October edition, and we are ready to drop the puck. As you can see, the man, the myth, the legend next to me for all of your real estate needs, Dan Pizzi and NextHome Brandywine. He's decked out in that Reading Royals gear. He's all ready to go. And the reason why we have an extra special guest here with us this month. I'm honored to not only talk to this guy, but we're going to dive deep and find out all the dirt and what it takes to be this person. The one and only Mr. Erik Jesberger. Erik, welcome to the show. And here, popping in late, but he's here. Our legend, Mr. Hub Rigel.
My sidekick. Hub joins the program. Welcome, Hub. So this month we are thrilled to introduce this month's guest. Bay did the honors for us here. He's the pride of Lansdale and Temple University. T for Temple, U for University. Huh? You like that? He's a senior in media studies and production at Temple. I think you said you're finishing up the end of this year, this current year. He's currently employed for the Reading Royals professional minor league hockey team. They are affiliated with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and the Philadelphia Flyers. He is the play-by-play voice of the Reading Royals, and he also holds the title of Media Relations Manager. He hosts a bi-weekly radio show featuring coaches, players, and team personnel at local restaurants in the greater Reading area. And once again, I'm thrilled he's coming on. Of course, we don't have the budget to pay guests, but he was nice enough to join us. Erik Jesberger, thank you so much, and welcome to the Closing Table podcast.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for the great introduction. Thrilled to get a chance to talk to you all tonight, have some fun. Of course, Dan, great to work with you, connect, and represent those Royals well. You're looking sharp in that white, and you got the chain going.
We got them all. I got about 6 more jerseys behind my back here hanging on Danny's wall.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, and it was great to meet Danny as well. Of course, looking forward to this upcoming season. Crazy. Gets going here in just about 48 hours. The Royals will be taking on the Newfoundland Growlers and get this season underway. Excited to call the games once again and get a chance to bring NextHome Brandywine on, a wonderful sponsor and a partner. And we're looking forward to growing that this season there on the broadcast and beyond. Hub and Bay as well. Great to meet you both. And Bay, really appreciate the great introduction. Hub, they're fashionably late. They came in just on time. So it's great to meet you. And I've watched you guys' shows before. So really thrilled to get a chance to be a part of it. It'll be a fun night.
So, definitely going to be fun.
I wanted to start with this. I want to get into how Erik kind of joined the Royals and how he grew into the role of play-by-play announcer. But, you know, I was looking up some things today, and you're following in the footsteps of some great former announcers there with the Royals in Mark Thompson and Pat Richards and John Curtis. And I think we'll talk about this, Dylan Coyle, who I think you took over for. As my old broker would say, I'm putting the cart before the horse. But what's it like to follow in the footsteps of some great ECHL hockey announcers that came prior to you? And what's the feeling like for you to be in those shoes now?
I'll tell you first off, it's an absolute dream and a thrill. Get a chance to do this. They're at a professional level for a team that I grew up watching, and of course, being a Philadelphia kid and a Philadelphia sports fan. There was a lot of Flyers and Phillies growing up. Of course, the Eagles and the Sixers as I got older as well. So get a chance to call games for the Flyers organization, being the Reading Royals right now. Get a chance to work with a lot of the players that have that ultimate end goal of reaching the NHL, something I share similar, of course, in a different lens. Can't quite skate as fast or shoot like this, but if I can have a headset on for an NHL team with the ultimate goal of being the next voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, that's certainly the end goal to reach. But following in the footsteps of some of the great broadcasters, I as well had the privilege of talking to, great Mark Thompson. Tomer is an absolute gem, and get a chance to work with his partner for so many years. And Pat Richards, I always say, was an absolute blessing to have Pat Richards alongside me in my early days calling Royals games. He allowed that history to come into the broadcast as I transitioned in and delivered the calls. So always a heartfelt thank you to Pat Richards. Whenever I talk to him, I know he's doing well down in North Carolina, enjoying some golf and some of that little warmer weather than it is up here. But I know part of him always misses get a chance to be in the booth. So always privileged to talk, and I've worked with him. Of course, all the way to Mr. Curtis. Haven't got a chance to catch up with him, but get a chance to hear back his calls from the early days and when the Royals were growing. That's something I picked up on as well. Just the energy is something that I look and strive to bring into the broadcast. That's something he had. Thompson with the iconic call. That's something I love to transition and tie in as well. And then, of course, the Dylan Coyle you mentioned, my predecessor, getting a chance to connect with him at Temple University. Wouldn't be here without his guidance and the opportunities he gave me as an intern in that 2021-22 season. And I'm really glad to land the role that I'm in now while he continues to work great in his role there in the NASCAR industry.
Yes, I saw that. Let's talk through that a little bit. And that's one thing I really took to about Erik is his energy, right? His enthusiasm, the energy he brings. And, it just the vibe that you get listening to his call. So you joined the Royals in September of 21 as an intern. So what were your responsibilities as an intern there? And then come that, I guess, the turn of the year coming into that 22 season, you had a chance to take over the captain seat per se for Dylan. How did that come about? And one more question, I'll just add them all together and you could take it from there. Hockey's the hardest sport to do play-by-play for by far because of the names. I mean, by far. Did you have experience at all? Because you do such an excellent job with some challenges, and we'll get into that on some of the broadcasts with Flo and all. But, kind of just talk about, I seem honestly for your age far superior to quality of broadcast that comes across, and just start with the internship there and talk about you getting the job with the Royals, kind of what you were doing at first and how you were able to transition, because it's a huge opportunity for you and you're just knocking the door down with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say it all began, I got the opportunity to cover high school hockey for my high school at North Penn High School in Lansdale. So while I played baseball, I was on the diamond as a shortstop in the spring. Throughout the fall and the winter, I was in the booth for Friday Night Lights football, and then also over at Hatfield Ice and a chilly Hatfield Ice, the Navy rink on the right side. Get a chance to sit up there in the stands with my notebook pad and get a chance to cover the games. While I didn't get a chance to do broadcasting for high school hockey because we didn't have the opportunity, we didn't have the radio broadcast set up for that for North Penn Television or radio. I covered it for the newspaper. So following the game from the lens of pen and paper, and then doing the post-game article, I'd be wrapping up 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then getting set for what was baseball lifting the next morning at 5. But everything was leading up to this point. Never would take that for granted and those nights. So covering it from the writer's perspective, I would say for any young broadcasters looking to get into this industry, you got to know how to write. You got to know how to cover games from the writer's perspective, be a journalist first, if you will, because once you then take what is the words you're writing and typing out now, is even more typing than it is writing, that will bring it to the voice when you're calling the games. Understand the vocabulary, different context, because if you have you need as many synonyms as you can for the word shot or score to make you better and sound better on the broadcast. So that's some of the things I picked up on in my high school days covering North Penn ice hockey. And then the opportunity with the Royals, you mentioned that internship there, Dan, was a phone call from Dylan Coyle over the summer leading into that season. And he wanted to have me kind of take the lead internship position as a broadcast and media relations intern with the Royals. As mentioned, I knew of the Royals growing up, got a chance to get a couple games, not that many, more Phantoms and Flyers. So getting a chance to get back out to Reading, and see Santander Arena for the first time in quite a bit was an awesome experience from the media press box place. And with that, the interviews with Kirk McDonald there early on, I can't lie, there's that intimidation, when you're in that press conference room with him. But an awesome relationship. I was really happy to build throughout the season as just the kid covering the games, the kid that was always well dressed. He said he always had the suit and tie on. So I think that went a long way with him and built into a wonderful relationship when I took over the role as a play-by-play broadcaster and the director of communications and broadcast with Kirk. So those early morning interviews we have after their morning skate, and then the late night, even some of the off the record, off the mic combos, if you will, when the team secured the first round victory over the Maine Mariners. A really great time getting a chance to fit in with the team a little bit more than just the broadcaster who would go up to the guys when they needed an interview. Build a relationship with them is wonderful, and I'm really glad to see Kirk McDonald doing well there as well.
Yes. I got one more, and I'll step aside for Bay and Hub. The first night you were on the call, walk us through that. You got to be nervous, right? And like I said, it's the hardest sport to be the play-by-play announcer for by far. So your first night in the booth, you're on the call. Take us through that. What is it? How many nerves are there? Was it wait, because you're so well prepared.
Yep.
Like I always try to prepare, dressing right, and you say so many great things. That's why I really love this guy. He gives credit to people. Like some people don't. You know me, I'm always giving credit to everyone to help me every step of the way. Like my boy Dave Stinson. But you're so well prepared. What was the first night like? Was there jitters? You just felt confident step in the booth, or talk us through that a minute?
I would say a good mix, given that I had just about a full half season covering the team with that internship role, in addition to covering the post-game articles as well as cutting the highlights and clips throughout the game. I also was responsible for that for the away games as well. So I wasn't really missing any of the action per se. So I was well-versed with what the players were doing, what streaks, what trends, what other teams in the league were hot. So some other those points to bring up in discussion when there are those brief moments of stoppages in play, because they're very far and few in between. But I would say I gave him the credit a few moments ago, but to have Pat Richards, as I mentioned, next to me, and for any Royals fans tuning in, they understand how much Pat meant to not just the broadcast, not just myself, but also to the Royals family. 18 seasons there behind the mic was Pat Richards, and he was there for the Kelly Cup playoff, all those Kelly Cup playoff runs, of course, the Kelly Cup title in 2013. So to have that just, encyclopedia of Royals hockey right there next to me allowed me to do what I knew best, which was calling the action. I was cringe and listening back to those early games, but I guess that's a sign of knowing there's some growth along with it, which is ultimately, as I mentioned, the real joy and the goal out of it is growing and stepping up as I pursue the American Hockey League and then eventually the National Hockey League.
And one more comment from me, that the fans, and as I always try to take the pulse of the people in the arena, they took to you right away. They because people could be harsh, in our area as far as the criticism goes, but because you brought the preparedness, the energy, everybody loves the guy. I mean, really. I mean, we just took to you right away when you joined the broadcast, and we just saw the quality for a young fella, and I just think it's tremendous. And just so I talk to a lot of people in arena. My son says you talk to everybody. That's our business. But the in arena people just absolutely love the broadcast, and they really enjoy the work that you're doing.
Yeah, Reading, not just the Royals fans, but this entire community has welcomed me with open arms. I'm a Montgomery County kid from Lansdale.
Yeah, right.
So I understand kind of branching into Berks County a little bit. There's might be that presumption of not knowing exactly the area, and I might not know everything about the team, but a true warm welcome there for this family. And of course, with plenty of purple polos, plenty of purple ties, because
yes.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and join in their community. Such a passionate fan base.
It is.
And I say that, and when I talk to new players coming in and arriving, and looking for just a pulse of what the fans might be like, what they can expect, I'd say this fan base is as passionate as they come. They're second to none in that category. And I say that and emphasize that there's no cliche, there's no sugarcoat to it. It is absolutely diehard true. This city, this fan base, they bleed purple, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be to get a chance to kickstart my early career, because the passion, they're going to tune in. They're going to carry me along and make sure the big moments, the goal calls are all getting its well-deserved publicity, or at times as well. There's always mistakes on the broadcast. They let me know, so I know either next time to correct, or next time make sure that is fixed and that's set to go, because I always want that. I want to receive that, so I'm delivering the much well-deserved broadcast everybody deserves, because it's a distinguished franchise heading into season number 22. I turned 22 last month, so I want to make sure that I'm carrying that along as best I can here as a young broadcaster.
Go ahead, Hub Bay, jump in.
I got a bunch of questions. First off, I'm so curious to know, like, as you were growing up, was there a particular sportscaster, play-by-play guy that, like, said to you, like, boom, this is what I want to get into. This is the route I want to take?
Great question, because there's so many I think of that, being someone who watched so many sports there growing up, and I always think of, and I got to tip the cap to your cap. They're the Philadelphia Phillies, of course, a big win last night. So Harry Callis, for the brief years, I'll say, that I was able to not just hear but appreciate his calls. That's something I really enjoy on the baseball end of things. But of course, in hockey, being Jim Jackson. But then you're going a little throwback, and growing up with my dad, who always had Gene Hart on.
Oh, he's the best.
Highlights. That's something that to replicate as best I could. Always a good night, good hockey. That's something I love to tie in. And I would say as well, the great Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne has my favorite goal calls. And when I look back at some of the energy they're bringing onto a broadcast, it was also great to hear him on some baseball calls there.
I was just going to say, isn't he doing the Orioles too now?
Don't believe any.
He was. I think that I'm a big O's fan too. He was. He's a guy that crosses over hockey and baseball too, very similar to kind of your background.
Yes. And Dan, Orioles fan, I didn't know that. My condolences. I was rooting for an Orioles.
Not one win. Not one win.
But Garrett Thorne, that's a broadcaster that to see his talent there and hear back his calls. I'd say I was really fortunate to have my dad, who played hockey at Archbishop Ryan down in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Always have that hockey background, hockey knowledge. He played a goalie as well, so always some stick taps to the goalies, and we have some great fun with that. But being a Philadelphia kid and a baseball player growing up, there's that baseball tie. But, of course, the hockey calls and the fast-paced part of the game, that's why I enjoy calling hockey as much as I do, and bringing that energy to the broadcast. When you can go from a face-off and a stoppage of play to a goal in a span of 4 seconds, and along with the fans inside Santander Arena, there's nothing better than that. I'll tell you.
It's funny, too, because you touched on a little bit of that where I went back and I saw on your YouTube channel, you got like reels of you doing sportscasting, like you're doing a newscast, doing football, doing the hockey. What would be your number one thing you want to do? Is it hockey you want to be? You want to be that voice of hockey, or football, or which direction would you lean towards?
Or multi-sport, like Tom McCarthy does football, baseball. A lot of guys cross over now. So Marv Albert, who was a big hockey guy, crossing over in basketball. So
Al Michaels,
Al Michaels there. Gary Thorne there, a little bit of a foot in both parties, both sports there. Bay, that's always a great question, and that's always something I get that I'd say I don't know yet. I'd say the ultimate, the opportunity to broadcast here for the Royals and do hockey play-by-play broadcasting was the best thing that could have happened, because Absolutely. That would be one of the ideal routes that if you asked a middle school Erik Jesberger, who was doing Pendale television there on Friday nights for the morning of Monday's broadcast there, and we had no teleprompter, just paper scripts. He would absolutely take that in a heartbeat because hockey has always been something I've been passionate about, getting a chance to broadcast. Given it's something I didn't get a chance to do in high school, I just did the reporting. Getting a chance to have that at Temple University with the support and help of Dylan Coyle, who we discussed with the Temple Ice Hockey Network, and another mention and a shout out of support with my dad, who was driving me to all of the rinks. I mentioned Hatfield Ice was the closest one to us. Never got to Hatfield Ice because they were down at class of 1918 arena down in right by University of Penn.
Oh, yeah.
Class of 20, was it 23?
I can look
I know what you're talking about.
The old barn that actually the Ottawa Senators, when Claude Giroux was in town, they practiced there. So some Flyers fans scurried over there. But that was my very first game. So that's something that from Lansdale getting down into the city of brotherly love, there with my dad driving me around to those rinks and the Grundy rink as well.
Yeah.
So some decent drives that. I didn't have my permit or my license yet, and he was happy to take me there to get those early opportunities to work with Dylan Coyle, who put together a wonderful broadcast, and also as someone who was striving for the same goal of being a broadcaster.
Right.
Dylan also stepped aside to run the broadcast so that young students like myself could get onto the call. So that's why the appreciation to Dylan Coyle, as well as so many people who made those opportunities possible, I can't mention enough. Yeah.
Now, how about something too that you can tell Erik is a professional because you can hear it in his voice, the way he talks, he emphasizes. How long does it take to work and develop? I mean, let's face it, because you have that announcer's voice, so you have to develop that. You know, right? You're 22 years old. You got. I'm 53, and I'm still working to talk just a normal everyday language.
You guys sound great. Trust me. We're getting you on the broadcast. I tell you, there's some open mic opportunities. I'll bring you on. I would say too, what kind of goes into where the passion really started was a kid who played a lot of MLB The Show and NHL growing up, and there were points where I played the game so much, a little too much, that I get bored of playing, and computer versus computer, let's call a game.
That's awesome.
I'd say that's some of the really cool things that I look back on, and I didn't really write everything out because you had the luxury of every player having the icon and the name and number underneath. We might get there eventually with the way broadcasts are going here in the real world, but those early practices and early moments there, I think of just getting the Legends teams lined up and Wayne Gretzky there facing off, Eric Lindros for the Flyers and getting that going. That was always really cool. And another part of it that I love to get the history behind the broadcast, so that now that I'm here and get a chance to meet a lot of these younger players, it's something that we get a chance to share in common. Those video games as well.
That's funny. Now,
go ahead, Bay, and then we'll get Hub in here.
Well, you were mentioning like other players and all, and I don't think people even think or realize that where you have people that do the job that Erik does with the play-by-play, because you're doing the Reading Royals every game, so naturally you're going to know the ins and outs of those players and what's going on. But every game you have a visiting team that you also have to know the ins and outs of those teams too, to be able to talk about them. So how much prep work goes into each game?
It's a full day of reading. I'd say I do a lot of work, and that's also another benefit that I know listening to the Doc Emmerich documentaries. He would have killed to have the technology and the internet, because knowing about him getting hotel rooms and with two beds, one bed for himself, the other bed for the newspaper clippings and notes that he would do. I'd say a lot of reading that I try and make sure to understand the stuff for the broadcast that the fans wouldn't know. You know, they see the roster, they see the stats, they see how many games played, but the stories. I always try and add something intricate, whether it be something from their college days, something about their family, any ties to the NHL. That's stuff that I like to tie into the broadcast. It's just something cool as well for the players and for their families tuning in. That's what's been awesome to pick up on as well in my broadcasting career is the families coming out to games and the brief, pass by of them, mom and dad at the radio shows, and even running into, I think, of Brendan Hoffman, his parents getting in the same elevator as them on the way to a game. And just that brief conversation with them as they said, look familiar, and the voice sounds the same as well. That really goes a long way, and get a chance to have them say how much they enjoy my broadcast. There's nothing better than that. Yeah, that's wonderful. Calling their kids that they did a whole bunch of sacrifices for to get to this point, to deliver their well-deserved calls. And, of course, the big moments when they first land here in the ECHL, might be their first professional game. You want to make sure you deliver on that first point or that first ultimate goal because that goes right to the family just as much as a player.
I got two more questions. Number one, you mentioned about bonding with the players and those off-the-record moments and stuff like that. How bad does it kill you when you have those moments and you're saying to yourself, oh, my God, why?
That's fun, too. I would say you get a chance to catch up with the guys when they are here, and being after practice has been awesome. And for a lot of the Philadelphia sports connection I've had, Evan Barrett overseas,
yes,
a Bristol, PA player. We were right there for that Red October run last year. There was nothing better than hopping into the trainer's room, and they have the TV up. He'd be in the hot tub or the cold tub, and where they're watching the game and seeing the Phillies make their run. That was really awesome. And whenever I can, I'm tying in some Philly sports reference into the broadcast, especially with what we have. The joy right now. Flyers, a big victory last night, getting their season underway. The Phillies, of course, looking to go up 3-0 and the NLCS. And then the Eagles, those Kelly Greens, they can look sharp on Sunday.
Absolutely.
That's fun. And knowing more about their stories and how much they enjoy getting a chance to talk to me as well is wonderful.
That's cool. And last question I have, being the fact that you are a Philly guy, and you would love to be that guy for the Flyers, or even say the Phillies or the Eagles or even the Sixers. But what would happen if, like, the job opening offer comes to you from the New York Rangers or the Devils or the Dallas Cowboys? Like, that's gotta, like, just wrench your heart.
I know my dad and mom are probably tuning in. I know my dad is saying, you know what to say. You know what to say. That'd be a challenge. But, that's the ultimate goal is to reach the major league level, and whatever sport that might be. I would say that, wherever I might land, if I know that fan base is going to be passionate. And that's what I ultimately seek. And that's why I fell in love with this fan base from the first point I stepped in as an intern and get a chance to be a part of the action in a small, minuscule way, but help contribute to their overall fan experience because of how much they enjoy watching, following, and just eating up everything about Royals hockey. I would say, wherever that might be, of course, if it's the Rangers, I'm calling hockey, but, I know the history at least, and a little bit more of the south side of history on the Flyers, and there's an opportunity to cover hockey, and where those doors lead, there's an opportunity there. I know at the end of the day, mom and dad would say go ahead and take it, but can't guarantee they'll be season ticket holders or be up there repping the blue and red for the Rangers, or the white and blue down in Dallas.
Well, and when we go off the air, I'm sure we'll get the off the record answer as well.
Hub, chime in here, Hub. That's my sidekick, Hub Virgil. Chime in here, Hub.
Thanks, Hub.
Well, see, what I would think is that a lot of the people don't really know how much that thing that you did in high school when you studied the written words so much has actually contributed to your talent ability, because you've got multi layers of talents that are actually helping you to do this, that you're building and you're drawing from to help you to do that preparedness for the broadcast.
Absolutely. I'll say too, what comes along with the play-by-play broadcasting, which everybody hears and sees there, whether it be watching on Flow Sports or listening on Mixler, or of course the in-arena broadcast, it's with the job, you're also a representative of the team. So in terms of the content, the narration for commercials and videos there out to the public and the local media, that's one of the tasks I have really on a daily basis, especially as we prepare for opening night going on next Saturday, October 28th. So we made sure to get the media outlets the necessary information so that the public, can pick up on that as well and be well aware of everything that they can expect for our home opener next Saturday. And with that, the written content, I mentioned how much it helps me on the broadcast, but that's also a part of the role is waking up and at 7 a.m. having the game preview article out and posted so the media have it and they can push it on their end. But also the fans are well informed on what to prepare for that night's game. It might be a 7 o'clock puck drop, but, I'm up and, mom and dad know in the morning. It's usually a 5:30 departure from Lansdale, and we're here getting notes ready for the coaches down in the locker room by 7.
Yeah, but when you were in high school and you were writing for the paper in high school, that gave you a foundation that people don't even realize. That gave you a leg up to prepare you for this job.
Yeah, and covering it on that newspaper end was also a lot of the interviews, breaking that down with the coaches. Coach Kevin Vadis at North Bend High School, he provided the quotes that I quickly learned to know how I can incorporate that into the broadcast. That's one of the other things that fans are going to want to hear is, they hear my voice enough. Let's get the players. Let's get the coaches. Let's get, as Dan now with NextHome Brandywine, the commercials and the sponsors and the local community as well into the broadcast just as much as my own voice calling the action.
And so if you were giving advice, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you would say, like you were talking about learning synonyms and antonyms for the various different words. I think actually becoming better at writing, and actually people have recommended this to all kinds of people who are interested in broadcasting. I think you would say that learning more vocabulary and learning the English language has actually really improved your chances of getting where you are.
Good point, Hub.
Yeah, don't sleep through English class and do not use Quizlet for your weekly vocabulary quizzes. Go and learn the words and do the best you can to understand how you can incorporate them into whatever sport you're covering.
Yeah, because all of these things add together that have gotten you to where you are. I mean, it's because I'm looking at you've got about 4 different things that you're doing just in this job, and you've done them in other different fields that before you were broadcasting on this particular level. You've got the interview in the game, you've got managing community events, which, boy, that's got to be quite a skill there, dealing with some of that community people.
Working with that, also chasing around that fuzzball.
I was just going to say that it's the best mascot in all of sports. That's my buddy. I'll be ripping my buddy Slapshot. That's my boy.
You've got social media writer and commercial reading, which is, I mean, some of those guys take a lot of liberties on those commercial readings too.
Well, I'd say you got a pretty good one right here above me on my camera lens.
So let me interject. So
commercials.
So Erik said, would you like to voice? Erik does. We do it between the pipes when he announces the starting goaltender. Erik does a read for us, but then we have 2 more 30-second spots at each intermission. And Erik said, "Do you want to voice it your own instead of me reading it? Do you want to voice your own spot?" So, of course, I have my Fallcroft, Delaware County accent, and I thought, man, I don't know. I don't speak the best as far as clarity and all. So, you know what I like, Erik, about it now that I listened to it, and I thought it's an excellent suggestion. You do a lot of reads. It kind of breaks it up. So with my voice, because you're doing a lot of other reads. So I thought it was an excellent suggestion. I think it plays well doing those intermission reads because we do have a multitude, or Reading Royals have a multitude of sponsors this year.
I'd like to add that as well is also, and I shared that in that email and that conversation with you was, in your case, getting a chance to have your voice be something that the fans and future customers can now connect to. That's something that's great. You're at so many of our events here with the Royals and the Meet the Team event. They hear your conversation, might be with me, then they know, hey, I know that voice, and they're going to want to get a chance to talk to you. So I thought that was pretty cool. And
I do think it's an excellent point.
Really glad how well that turned out and how well that sounds in the broadcast. I knew you had that experience behind the mic.
Boy. Bay's laughing, Bay. I am the voice of independent wrestling. Bay
he did a hell of a job. Hey, did a hell of a job. I want to hear the commercial.
Yeah. In fact, I'll send it to you. Hey, Erik, a question I had. In fact, me and Danny were at the preseason game. Some of the challenges you have with the on-air broadcast, the booth location, and Merrill talks about this. Your booth location is not in the best location, and it kind of is. It kind of sits back. It's kind of a little bit recessed, and I want to know about the sight angles there on when you're physically looking out over the ice, and so Erik's has, because it's not Flyers budget, right? The production budget's not millions of dollars. He has some challenges there with. He does the in-house broadcast. He does the Mixer streaming app, and then he also Flow Sports is now. And Erik might be able to clarify better than me. They do a lot of the minor league hockey and extended sports, like not mainstream top four sports stuff. And they're kind of the main internet-based carrier streaming for these sports programs. But the quality of the broadcast and the cameras, I'll say this. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I worked for Comcast Spotlight, and I was a cameraman, and we used to do high school games and stuff. And it's the same. It's the same feel. So talk a little bit about that. You have some challenges there. In fact, during the preseason game, I was watching it, and I saw you kind of lurch up and look in the corner one time, kind of change your positioning from the booth. So talk about some of the tools you use. You don't have a spotter, but I know Murrah always talks about bad locations in the arena, what makes it a little bit more challenging when you're doing a live broadcast.
Yeah, for the broadcast, the suites take precedent. So getting a chance to give the fans the best seat in the house, if you will, that's set up right there all along the red lines at center ice. So we're set up there at section 101. So when you walk up the front entrance there, Santander Arena, for fans who know, it's directly up top. So if you will, I get a good look at where the Royals warm up on that end of the ice. And I'm positioned right at that blue line, a little bit there to the right side of it. So the camera angle as well is something that isn't at center ice, positioned a little bit to the right. But we also have a wonderful creative department and game production staff that put together some cameras behind the nets as well. So in terms of replay and having my laptop set up next to me to see the television, the stream there on Flow Sports, the watch service, also see those angles there help out, but I get the benefit of seeing there a pretty good view of where the Royals defend the net twice, first and third period, but where they shoot, that's on the other side. So in terms of the big overtime goals of those big moments, might just want to make sure they're learning the players, making sure matching the name with the number, how they skate as well was something that has really helped me out in terms of home games. And then, Dan, I know we've talked about it before. The away games, for people who don't know, I do them remotely. So I'm not traveling with the team. I'm wrapping up my senior year at Temple University this fall. So I get a chance to walk in December. Took some winter and summer classes to get ahead and graduate a semester early. So I'm really excited for that. And Once that gets out of the way, then I can look at traveling come springtime. And of course, with that, the ultimate goal of traveling plenty in May and June, right there, Dan, right there. Want to travel in June, doing something right that time of year. But covering the games remotely, the stream that you're all watching on Flow Sports for fans, that's the same stream I'm calling the games on. So I know some of the camera angles might be a little tough to see. They have like a bird's eye perch up in the top corner. It has its challenges, but I will say that we're testing out the audio 2 hours beforehand. I make sure everything's up and running with Flow Sports and their service. And while I might have some of its challenges, at the end of the day, you're calling Royals hockey, and nothing gets better than that.
Hub, you got another question?
Yeah, how do you practice the names? Because I mean, in my experience with a lot of this is you really want to be careful that you get the name right. Not just the pronunciation, but you want to make sure that you marry the first name with the last name correctly, and you don't get people mixed up.
Always a great question, and always one I enjoy because, and Dan, you had asked a question here that goes along this trend that I didn't answer, was my very first broadcast here with the Royals was a weekend opportunity to get the feel, and with our team president, David Farrar, he was going to be tuning in. So a little, if anything, a little bit of nerves with that, understanding that the head management, the brass of the Reading Royals were tuning in, and everything I have trained and read and prepared for, this was the audition, if you will, to understand if I was going to lock in the opportunity to be the voice of this distinguished franchise. That first weekend, Dan, if you recall, looking back to late January of that 2021-22 season, how about the Trois-Rivières Lions were in town? So we're talking about a team from Quebec, French-Canadian names, practically the whole roster. I'll tell you, I took Spanish in middle school. Wish I took French because that weekend, going in to the call the games, knowing everything about the Royals, then you flip to the other half of your game sheet, and it's all of these names, as I mentioned, French-Canadian and from up north. I got on the phone from the booth with their team trainer for the Trois-Rivières Lions, and I said, "Sir, I'm going to need you to run through all of these names for me because I got to make sure I hammer these tonight." And he took the time there during pregame warmups to run through each and every name with me. And I'm really glad how well the broadcast went that weekend. And it was great to share that. I was able to talk with David Farrar there shortly after and continue throughout the season and beyond.
And the thing is, too, as I understand at the beginning when you were first starting, it was a little very challenging, but at the same time, I think the managers understand that you're going to have to grow into what you're doing, and I think you actually were very fortunate to have a great team that really believed in you and knew that you were going to improve. They had faith in you.
Absolutely, with the management, also the coaching staff I mentioned with head coach Kirk McDonald, and at the time assistant coach James Henry, who right now is at the helm that I have the privilege of working with and chatting with on those game days and beyond. It was something as well with the players that I really do appreciate about that really talented team, Dan. That season was really good there, that 2021-22 club. Very well. Should have and could have went farther in that Kelly Cup playoff run. But they all knew, I was still a college kid and still getting acclimated with the professional hockey league level of broadcasting games. So I always have appreciated the welcome and the kind of ease off as I got set up with it because it definitely took a little bit to get that voice and match the energy with the faster pace part of the game. A lot different than high school, of course, and always thankful for that because the pronunciations are important, but matching, as you said, marrying the first and the last name to the play, that takes some time. So I was really glad to do that early on.
And
what was
the
the first?
The improvement is continual. I mean, that's just you're just going to keep improving and adapting to what they expect from you and what you want to give to them too.
What was the first goal you got to call? Who scored the first goal that when you were behind the mic?
Always a memorable one. And I will share, before I had that broadcast with the Lions, I was able to step in for a second period for a Royals game. And during that second period, I will say it was a scoreless first period from the Royals. I stepped in with Pat Richards. Dylan was once again really appreciated his opportunity to hand off the mic to me for a little bit. I had 5 goal calls in that second period, 5. So when Dylan came back for the third, he said, "I don't think you guys gonna want to hear me anymore. You're gonna want the kid back on. You want to hear Erik." So my first call was the great, known as the Forsberg move, when he tuck the stick around the goaltender, go to your left. Braden Lowe, number 9. Braden Lowe tucked it to the right, and I'll tell you, I was happy with the call. But the goal had to get on SportsCenter. I was pushing SportsCenter top 10. Let's make it happen. Didn't quite make the cut that night. But one of those early moments, and I know something you guys would understand for me and how much I've got a chance to talk and really have enjoyed the time here with you, is when Braden Lowe reposted, my mention and the goal call. I know he's a big social media guy. Some players aren't, but he's one that taking my call and my post and getting it on his public feed, that him being a fan favorite, that really went a long way for me. And that's something I really always appreciate in Braden.
So I just a couple more things. We'll let you go. We're bending your ear for 45 minutes and we appreciate all the time.
Great.
The 28th, we dropped the puck at home opening night, which is a week from Saturday, I think. Is that right? Yep. Saturday, Sunday. Talk a little about this team, some of the new players, what you see. I'll make a couple comments, what I see. I love height. I like number 4. I like his energy at the blue line. I like what I see. Mongo, we talked about. This big fella, 58. He was on the second line. He's looked slow to me. Very slow to me out of the gate here. Talk about some of these guys, what you're seeing, some of the excitement. You know what I liked? I know it's just a preseason game. And he's a rookie, first-year professional. Dopp, I thought he played really well in that game. I don't know the guy. You see it's a challenge in net, but I like what I see out of the goaltenders the other night in the preseason game. Mayer is going to be the starting goaltender. I like what I saw out of the backups. Last year everybody got moved up. It's always good to have extra goaltending and some quality goaltending around. Talk about maybe one of the new players you're seeing. I got a chance to talk to Coach at the sponsorship night with the meet and greet. He's awesome. He gave us like 15 minutes. The nicest guy, laid back, extremely professional. But talk about what you're seeing with this year's team leading up to the 28th. Tickets are still available. I'll punch the Reading Royals line there. So we'll be there with our season tickets. There's a pre and post game party, fireworks afterwards. We have a block party before the game. I say it's like a family up there. So just give us a little bit of an idea what to expect with this upcoming season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, always join that family. We're excited for that home opener, October 28th. The overall with the team, and you mentioned James Henry, head coach as well. No one better. They're on and also off the ice. Get a chance to lead this team here in his second season at the helm as head coach. His third coaching season overall after being assistant coach with Kirk McDonald, as I mentioned. Yes. He came into this team and this community same time I did, so that's something we really have enjoyed getting a chance to share. Team overall, I'll tell you, Dan, really looking forward to seeing the affiliation relationship not just continue, but grow. And that's something we've already seen off the bat, is something that assistant coach Jason Binkley had talked about on the interviews and the shows we have had at Jimmy G's Railroad House or over at the Cheers Doubletree of Hilton Reading, was you're only as good as your affiliates and how much they support you at this level. At the end of the day, it's double-A hockey. To have Mason Millman, an NHL contracted defenseman with the Philadelphia Flyers, be paired with another NHL contracted blue liner and a big one, I might add, 6'4" Wilson Molick. Those two are going to be two not just enforcers on that back end. They can throw their muscle around, but they can also score, and they can contribute there offensively. Defensemen producing points on the offensive end, that's going to lead a club, especially late in the season. So I think Royals fans can be really thrilled about that. You mentioned the goaltending there, Dan. I will tell you. So Nolan Meyer, he's going to be your opening night starter. He's going to be the one in between the pipes and lead this club after being under the tutelage of Pat Nagel, the great to retire there this offseason and go out as the second winningest goaltender in ECHL history, to have that knowledge carry to Nolan Meyer, who's just going to pass along to two young goaltenders who put together a goaltending clinic in that preseason finale game over the weekend on the road in Glens Falls, New York, I might add. Not the easiest barn to play in. Jake Kuharski and you mentioned Erik Dopp. For Dopp to just step in for the third period and get the kitchen sink thrown at him with 22 total shots, more than Kuharski faced in the first two periods. You can tell I'm getting hyped.
I was excited about it too. He was square to everything. And you can't get too excited, but that's why we like this type of hockey. We see new guys we haven't seen before. Yeah. This kid looked phenomenal. I mean, he really looked good. He was square. You go up to Glen Falls, you're coming in late in the third period. And just mention a couple of the guys returning. We're looking at Shane Seller, Hoffman, Height. I think some of that continuity goes a long way. You know, you see that with Newfoundland a couple of years, the guys stay on the team. I know it's tough at this level, but I don't know. I like what I'm seeing out of the gate. I like some Mongo we talked about. He was injured last year. He's another guy that brings a lot of energy, a little bit of grit. I think we always had that nice mix, but you talked about it. Good point play on defense and be able to put the puck in the back of the net with solid defense and good goaltending, which should be another good year.
Yeah, 10 returners from last season's club in some way or fashion. So having that, you know, core, a foundation already coming into the season, in addition to a coaching staff entering their second full season together.
Yes.
You know, it's going to make for a good start, and you already have that. You know, Adirondack is going to be a solid club, and we saw that in the preseason. We didn't see all their starters. So to have that good test out of the gate, and then you also add that in here with the Newfoundland Growlers, who are going to have that consistent support from the Toronto Maple Leafs organization and the Marlies. It's going to be a fun weekend coming up with the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games on the road. We're going to get a good look at this Royals team that is coming out, of course, with a lot of those returners. Looking for a bit of that revenge against that Growlers team they fell to in the second round of the playoffs last season and, you know, the year before that. And I mentioned that not to, you know, bring up bad memories, but to know that, you know, there's that extra emphasis, you know, when the team takes the trip up. And for the newcomers, going to look to make early impressions with this team.
And we're going to be glued to the broadcast. Erik will be on the call, so join in. Flow Sports, the Mixer streaming app. I'm going to just add this, and we'll wrap up. Erik doesn't have to come on this program. I own a real estate company. We run a monthly podcast. He's really growing in the profession. Heartfelt thanks and much appreciation. They even took the time and hour to join us on the program. You know, my love for the Royals. I was very excited to have you on the program. And, you know, it's relationship building with people. You talked about a lot of synergies with kind of who helped you along the way. This is greatly appreciated from us. And I don't want it to be not said that he don't have to come on here, guys. I mean, I'm so appreciative of you, and I thank you for joining the program tonight and giving us some time. And I know a lot of the Royals fans. I know John, our friend John, was tuning in. So again, looking forward to the season. I love listening to your calls, the energy, the enthusiasm you bring. I got a shout out on the broadcast there at the end. I almost fell out of my seat when my name got mentioned. I was putting a little comment on the Mixler app, and I almost fell right off the sofa. I said, "Well, holy cow!" Mentioned on the broadcast. So,
Dan, you know that. I appreciate it.
Listen, I love you. I love the broadcast. I'm thrilled that you came on the program tonight. The Royals are a true family, and that's why with NextHome Brandywine, just like we do with the Lancaster Barnstormers, these organizations, and Erik mentioned it throughout the podcast, are family-oriented, professional, family-oriented, help each other grow, make each other better, and that's what we see. And that's why I really wanted to be, even though Danny and I were a part of it, my son and I wanted to be more a part of the Royals family. And by Erik joining the program, it just shows you how these people are, how professional, how they act, how they care about the community. And when you see my boy Slapshot, give him a shout out. That's my buddy, number one mascot in all of sports. Danny says it's not true. I say it's true. We're going to listen to the broadcast coming up this week, and we will be in arena next Saturday and listening to your call. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, greatly appreciate the time you gave us.
Absolutely. All three of you gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on. this is fun, great, and the hour flew by. But really glad that it worked out here, not just tonight for all of us to chat, but also worked out right in the middle of that Philly schedule. I got Phils in 4 there. I'm excited.
I can't believe it. I mean,
Absolutely.
they look really good. I mean,
Yeah.
they really do look good coming out of this thing. And Eagles just signed Julio Jones, so we got a lot of excitement in town. And we'll be looking forward to Royals hockey next Saturday. I'm going to be heading up and raiding the store one more time. And when you listen to the broadcast, NextHome Brandywine will be featured. Erik does a read for us between the pipes. We're going to step into your next home right there as the goaltender step in between the pipes. And we have 2 reads on the intermissions. And we're so thrilled to be a part of the family, along with what's it, Daimler Dental? Let me get that right. Is that who it is? Yep.
Daimler Dental.
Yep. And we got Burke's Hot Dogs. We got Jimmy's over there. So we got a lot of great people that sponsor the Royals. And we're looking forward to a great season. Erik, thanks again, buddy. Appreciate the time.
Hey, gentlemen.
Take care, Erik. Thank you.
Thanks again. All right, Bay, take us out.
All right, so there he is. That was so much fun. I got more questions, but we're out of time.
I know. We'll have him on again. We'll have him on again over the holidays.
We got to have him on again. We got to have him on again. So, all right, go Royals. Go NextHome Brandywine. Yeah, Brandywine. Look at that.
Thanks, Bay.
Call me out, Erik. Call me out. I love that. Great show tonight. Again, family atmosphere, and that's what everybody strives for at NextHome Brandywine. That's why it's all about humans over houses. It's not about how many houses we could sell, how much money we can make. It's the humans over houses that counts, because it's from the heart. And the guy next to me, he's loud, he's boisterous, but he is the man when it comes to real estate. Check
Let's
him
go
out.
Royals next
There you
Saturday,
go.
home opener. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.